We are back. This is That 4x4 Show. Welcome to the first episode of the second series. In this program, we have something old, something new, and of course, a lot of adventurous things for you. For starters, we have 3 project vehicles. We'll again focus on a 4x4 trail every week, and we'll also do a 4x4 test in each episode. New in this series is a weekly adventure drive, and in each episode, we'll take a closer look at one of the 4-wheel drive trucking company's creations. But before we get to our project vehicles, we have some unfinished business. Do you remember the sad-looking Discovery V8? Back in October 2012, we became the owners of a beaten-up Discovery with almost 250,000 kilometers on the clock. The 3.9-litre V8 engine ran on only 4 cylinders, and it drank 100 litres of petrol every 100 kilometers. Finally, in the beginning of 2014, the Landy was a done deal. Since we last featured the Landy on That 4x4 Show, we've received lots of inquiries as to how it's going with the project. And one of those letters comes from Henry Germis, all the way from Greytown in Natal. And he says, "Dear Bernie, I hope all is going well with the Land Rover. I'm just wondering, can a used Landy that's almost 20 years old and with 250,000 kilos under the belt still do a 4x4 trip? Long distances? And what about fuel consumption on that V8? Well, Henry, you've really raised some relevant points. So relevant that we decided to fill up the Landy and take along my sidekick, Mr. T, and head off to the Eastern Free State and do some serious sandstone 4x4 driving. It was an early morning on the Highveld. The Land Rover Discovery V8 was roaring along just dandily as the kilometers flew by. With me was Mr. T. As a member of the Hilux 4x4 Club, Mr. T drives 2 new 4x4 trails every month, so he knows stuff about low range and about driving over obstacles. Amazingly though, he's never driven a Land Rover before. Clearly, there is a huge gap in Mr. T's 4x4 vocabulary. And I was taking him to a special place where this Land Rover virgin could experience Land Rover in a special kind of way to right this wrong. Not that he had a clue where we were going.
So where are we going, Bunny?
Mr. T, that's on a need-to-know basis. Right now you don't need to know yet.
Okay. I'm enjoying the drive though. I'm enjoying the drive. I'm loving the sound. I'd never thought I'd say this about a Land Rover.
You just need to qualify that first. Just tell the people what you drive. Tell them what you drive. Tell them, come on.
Hilux all the way. Hilux all the way, okay. Baby. Toyota all the way.
We've upgraded you to a Land Rover.
I'm not sure. But I brought the tools, so I'm ready.
Yep, the old girl was humming along just fine. And before Tumelo could say KZTE, we reached the turnoff to the R76 leading to Steynsrus. Time for some B-road driving, something that's right up the alley of this 200 horsepower Discovery. First though, it was time for a quick moment of reflection.
Now, Bernie, why are we here?
You see, a Land Rover is like a woman. You need to treat her with respect. So now we stop and let her rest for a while. Relax, take in some of the nature.
Luckily, I love nature, Bernie.
With the Landy well rested and our tummies filled with some dry cow, it was time to continue to, well, you'll see soon enough. Before Tumelo could say Toyota, we arrived in the town of Senekal for another stop.
I think at 1 o'clock it will be closed though. It's not going to be so busy.
Roll up the streets as well. Let's just pull in here at the garage quickly.
And now?
Every sport has its injuries, my boy.
Come on.
I'm telling you.
Come on. I must say, it's not so bad.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And so, with the Discovery's tank full to the brim with petrol, on we went. But there was an issue. My left leg was about to amputate itself from my body thanks to the exceedingly heavy clutch. Tumelo has run 9 Comrades marathons, so his left leg should last at least until we get to our destination.
It's your turn to drive now. Okay. So now you're not gonna know where we're going when I'm driving. Okay, let's go. We're going?
We're going.
I love this.
Welcome to the world of Land Rover.
No, the V8 sound.
Oh, okay.
Thankfully, our destination was not too far off. We soon dispatched the town of Roosendaal, and now only 10 kilometers of tar remained before we'd hit gravel.
So, Mr. T, you see the sign says Moelmanshoek.
I see the sign.
Yeah, you understand now.
Woolmans or Moelmans?
Moelmans. Yes.
What is a Moel?
Moelman. This is just a surname. Moelman, like van der Merwe.
Oh, okay.
Got Lamini for that.
Lamini hook.
Something like that.
The Moelmanshoek Nature Reserve is a special kind of place. Surrounded by the beautiful Witteberg Mountains, the Moelmanshoek Valley boasts a variety of game, more than 250 horses, and some really awesome 4x4 trails, ranging from beautiful and easy tracks to spectacular and very difficult ones. We opted for the latter, picked up a man who would show us the way, and has a radio to call for backup, headed straight for one of the tougher tracks on the 3,300 hectare property. And this Landy only has a lockable center differential. And so we arrived at the first challenge, a steep climb up the sandstone rock.
What's wrong?
I'm gonna walk this one.
No, man.
Come, man. Can I walk this one? Please, please. We're not gonna make it.
All of us.
We're not gonna make it.
Of course you're gonna make it.
Let's see.
So you wake up one morning and you realize that your money is burning a hole in your wallet. You have a Toyota Hilux and a Toyota Land Cruiser that you wish to modify. What do you do? Well, here is a brilliant idea. It's big, it's black, and it's certainly beautiful. This is a custom-built Toyota Hilux created specifically to conquer sand dunes, but highly capable in any other 4x4 environment too. It's powered by a Lexus V8 engine, coupled to a 4-speed automatic gearbox. And this is its diesel twin, Land Cruiser 100 VX with a turbocharged straight 6 under the bonnet. Gary Schwimmer, the main man at the 4-wheel drive trucking company and creator of the two beasts, tells us more about how the Toyotas came to be.
We had clients in Angola that I'd met on a previous trip, and they're battling to get their cars kitted over there. So he came through to South Africa and he approached me and he said to me, he's looking for a car that he can play in the dunes with. Him and his son, they all want cars, all identical, just for dune driving.
So Gary and his team set about creating rally-style off-roaders. On the Hilux, the buck was completely removed and the team manufactured a custom metal structure with off-road racing buckies in mind. But instead of ultimate speed, this Hilux features some handy comfort features, like a slide-out fridge mounted in a custom aluminium box. There are also implements, a water tank and a work light. There are driving lights on the TJM bull bar, on the metal frame, and on the back a yellow fog light so that the two Toyotas can easily follow each other in the dark. Other accessories include the custom rock sliders with custom recovery points as well as a front runner roof rack, a TJM snorkel, and a TJM winch in the front bar. The Hilux rides on a TJM suspension, and 33-inch Mickey Thompson rims and tires are used. The Land Cruiser 100 also rides on TJM shocks and springs, but it gets a set of 33-inch Cooper Discovery STT tackies. The Cruiser was given a Dakar-style look with no less than 3 spare wheels mounted in the custom back area. The cabin area was sealed behind the second row of seats, and the custom buck area rubberized to make for easy cleaning after a long day of 4x4ing. The Land Cruiser is kitted out in the same matte black vinyl wrap as the Hilux, and it also gets the TJM bull bar and winch. With no costs spared in these conversions, these machines really stand out in a crowd of Hilux buckies and Cruiser 100 vans, and they certainly have the go to match the show. It's time for you to meet our first project vehicle. It is a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon V6. Come to think of it, is the Jeep Wrangler totally useless as an overlanding vehicle? What about drivability? What about 4x4 ability? What about speed? Well, we devised a couple of tests. Daily commute, yes or no? I would certainly use it as a daily commute if that does not mean having to travel long distances on the highway. In traffic, in town, perfect. I like it. It's nimble, it's light, it's powerful. You've got a good vantage point from which to drive from. You feel in command of this vehicle the whole time. But it's this long distance travel that is not the most comfortable to me. So is the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon with a petrol motor V6 209 kilowatts fast? We are at the Tolton International Raceway and we have the quarter-mile strip lying ahead of us and we're going to test it. What do we compare it against? South Africa's most favourite SUV, the Toyota Fortuner D4D diesel. So, is this Rubicon fast? Oh, hell yes. This is Four-Wheel Drive Club of South Africa's Base 4 venue. The test starts out with a tough axle twister, but the Ruby hardly bats an eyelid here. And we've not even engaged the front locker yet. Onwards we go to a muddy crossing and some rocky terrain. But again, that front locker is not even necessary. Now here's a tough obstacle. Finally, time to engage both lockers and it's just too easy. As an overlanding vehicle, I should be able to at least take along the basics that I need. So space is definitely a problem. Next week we take the Jeep to the four-wheel drive trucking company in Pretoria East, where hopefully they can address some of the shortcomings in this Jeep and give us the ultimate two-seater overlanding vehicle. Now we head off to Krugersdorp and we drive the awesome Hobby Park 4x4 trail. The Hobby Park complex is situated on Robert Broom Drive in Krugersdorp. Based virtually in the city, you only have to drive a few hundred meters into the property to get that out in the African bush feeling. The 4x4 trail ranges from easy to very difficult. The trail starts off near the main complex and entrance gate, with a few axle twisters and muddy patches to contend with. These are all in a day's work for even a standard Toyota Fortuner. However, the track gets more challenging as you go, with steeper descents and bigger climbs. If you are feeling like some mud, there are a few mud holes to play in. From here, the trail winds its way through the bush, up a koppie and onto more rocky, steep climbs, some of which are heavily rutted. These are also not soft 4x4 friendly. Some of the ascents are manageable in a standard 4x4, like this one. But again, there are escape routes around all the worst sections. There are two viewpoints on the property and they both offer splendid views of the surrounding landscape. At this viewpoint, with a townhouse complex within a rock's throw, you are again reminded that although you just drove through the bush to get here, you are still technically in the city. And for us, that's one of Hobby Park's biggest draw cards, the fact that it is right on Johannesburg's doorstep. Costs are 200 Rand per vehicle for the 4x4 trail. Visit our Facebook page for a link to Hobby Park, where you will find all the contact information for the venue. So there we were, just the two of us, the Land Rover and these huge sandstone challenges. We head back to Moormanshoek to find out whether the Land Rover made it or did it die. On we went, bravely going where few Land Rovers have gone before. Okay, not really, but you get the point. This is a difficult track, and one best tackled with a 4x4 with at least a locking rear differential. But clearly, the relationship between the Bridgestone mud terrain tyres, the Tough Dog suspension, and surprisingly grippy sandstone surface was a good one. As slow as possible.
Correct. I'm with you.
Okay, so we're crawling.
Correct.
So I'm in control the whole time.
It's not so bad when you come closer though. Clutch control on Benny. Kom.
You know what, I think it's running out of fuel there. Fuel starvation. Back on a flatter surface, the V8 engine was far happier and roared back to life. Attempt number 2, this time with a little bit more right foot.
Try to relax. Shift my brake first. I can feel the bacon moving. There we go, Benny. There we go. Nice one. Nice one.
Okay, let's get back to business here. You were worried as well, eh?
I was worried, but I mean, never panic.
I think what happened is I let it run on the idle and then it fuel starved. So far, so good then. But with the orange Landy making headway up the mountain, there was a problem. The clutch is heavy on your leg. It's a brute of a clutch, so you feel it. It was time for a driver change. So, as if by a special request, a scenic lookout point appeared, and while I pretended that there was absolutely nothing at all amiss with my left leg, Mr. T and I pondered the meaning of life in general. This is a pretty special place, this Moormanshoek. But this is not what I came to show Mr. T. To get to where I had to be, we had to drive over a mountain.
Are you having fun there?
I'm watching you.
I'm watching you.
I'm watching you. This is an optional obstacle on this trail, but this was it. If the Landy made it up and over here without killing itself and us, then, well, then it means it is pretty darn all right.
Oh, well done, Mellow. Thank you.
Right, so just one more obstacle in our way as the sun starts heading for bed. It's a steepish climb over a loose surface, a few axle twisters, and a bit of a turn to contend with. This is now where a rear differential lock would have been just the ticket.
I'm trying to do it.
No, this is loose gravel. You need some momentum here, otherwise we're going to have a problem.
Better?
Yeah.
This was it. The Landy had brought us all the way to the top of the mountain. It had brought us to what I wanted to show Mr. T all along, the view. So, Mr. T,
Mr. B.
was it worth it?
Very, very worth it. Thank you.
Okay, from there all the way around,
Wow.
as far as your eye can see.
Gee, could have told me there's fishing there.
No.
Naughty boy.
Well, Henry, to answer your questions, yes, the old lady certainly still can do some serious off-roading and long-distance travel. Fuel consumption, 16 litres per 100 kilometers. And you think that's rough? Well, I drive a Hilux V6, and that's what I get on the V6. Maybe that's another interesting test one day between a V6 and a V8. Next week, Gary Schwemmer introduces us to one of his awesome custom builds again, and we head on an off-road trip with a caravan. I mean, seriously, that's what the producers want, and that's what the producers are going to get. Please remember that every week we feature an interesting trail for you to go and drive. In the meantime, remember, I'll see you next week.